and we're working with them. It's like a joint venture, and we have tremendous amounts of oil. And we could do that with Iran very easily. We could just take their oil. But, I'm not sure that the people in our country have the patience to do that, which is unfortunate. They want to see it end. If we stayed there, I'd prefer just to take the oil. We could do it so easily.
We could just take their oil. That was the President of the United States, not in a private meeting, not in a leaked phone call, out loud, on stage, in front of a crowd, casually discussing the theft of a sovereign nation's oil supply like he was talking about picking up takeout. And that is not even the most alarming thing he said, because in the 5 minutes before and after that clip, Trump also told the crowd that he loves bad people who are nice to him, that the U.S. now controls 59% of the world's oil, that regime change in Iran happened completely by accident, and that without him personally, Israel would not exist. This was one speech, one unscripted, unfiltered monologue, and almost none of it made the front page. So let's go through it, line by line, because what you're about to hear is extraordinary.
I would prefer that, but people in the country sort of say, just win. You're winning so big, just win, come home. And I'm okay with that, too, because we have a lot of oil between Venezuela and our oil. We're controlling now 59% of the oil in the world. And the problem that we have is we really don't need any more oil. It'd be nice to take it, but we don't need it. And we say to Europe and all these countries that do, China gets 90% of its oil from the Strait of Hormuz, and they should be policing their own strait. We shouldn't be policing it for them. We have been for years, and we're getting ready to get out of there. But they should, all the damages. We have done such a job that they're really a very weak country. They've gone from the bully of the Middle East to essentially a weak country. And I say, you guys, why should we? The problem with the strait is they can have one terrorist there with a machine gun someplace, and they'll say, oh, it's not totally clean, So let them do it. Let France do it. They get a lot of oil from the strait. Let the European countries do it. Let South Korea, who is not helpful to us, by the way, let South Korea, we only have 45,000 soldiers in harm's way over there right next to a nuclear force. Let South Korea do it. Let Japan do it. They get 90% of their oil from the strait. Let China do it. Let them all do it. What the hell are we doing it for? All I want to do is make sure they don't ever have a nuclear weapon. And the other thing, this was not part of what I wanted to do, but we've done it, I guess, through sheer force of personality. We have a regime change like nobody thought was possible. They said, what do you mean you have regime change? My friend, great show. I love this guy. He's so nice to me. Every time I watch, and I appreciate. We're not supposed to be seduced that way, right? But I am. When somebody's nice to me, I love that person. Even if they're bad people, I couldn't care less. I'll fight to the end for them. So I appreciate it. But, I want to see no nuclear weapon. But we also won regime change. They said, I spoke with the Washington Post, another beauty that's going down the tubes. But the Washington Post said, what do you mean you have regime change? You didn't have regime change. I said, no. We took out the first regime, 100%. That was Khomeini. And then I said, they all met 88 people, and they were going to pick a new regime. And as they were voting, we took them out, so that was number 2. And now we're dealing with the third group of people, and they're much different. Actually, they're much less radical, and it's a new regime. And they said, we never thought of it that way. We have regime change. We got it by accident. We actually got it by accident, because I never liked the idea of, the regime change thing is too complex to put it down on a wish list, because if you don't make it with me, if I don't make it, I end up ahead. He didn't get the... So I never say I wanted it. So I never talked about regime change, but we got it. But we've done an amazing thing over there, and tonight I'm making a little speech at 9 o'clock, and basically I'm going to tell everybody how great I am. What a great job I've done. What a phenomenal job. What a phenomenal job I've done. But seriously, if you didn't have me, if you had some different type of a president, You wouldn't have Israel. I know you're big Israel fans. Frankly, evangelicals and Christians, just Christians, I think they like Israel more than Jewish people like Israel, if you want to know the truth. It's really true. I get so many coming up, and I don't know when that started. It did start not thousands of years ago, I can tell you. It started, but the love for Israel is great. You wouldn't have Israel, and you wouldn't have the Middle East either. You would not have. You would have had a nuclear weapon. It started by taking out Soleimani. Then I terminated the Iran nuclear deal that was given to us by Barack Hussein Obama. And then the B-2 bombers, so that stopped it. And then the B-2 bombers, when I came back, I had a 4-year sabbatical. And then I came back, and we had this unbelievable attack. But we had the B-2 bombers. They really stopped it. If we didn't hit them with those B-2s, and that was a total obliteration, if we didn't hit them with the B-2s, you would have had a nuclear weapon. And the only question whether or not they would have used it in the first hour or the first day. But they would have used it, and the Middle East would have been gone. So every single hour,
because there
knocking
are
them out
three
like
separate
nobody
bombshells
thought was
buried
possible.
in that one clip.
As soon as they set off
Bombshell
a
one.
missile within 4 minutes,
Trump admitted directly
the
that
launcher
flattery
gets hit.
controls his foreign
they don't know what's
policy.
happening.
His words,
But we have the
when
greatest
somebody's
military
nice to me, I
anywhere
love
in the
that
world.
person,
Their
even if
Navy
they're
is
bad
gone.
people. I
24
couldn't care
ships
less.
in
I'll
3
fight to
days.
the
That's
end
a
for
lot
them.
of ships.
That is the
They're
President of the United States.
Anti-aircraft
Telling a
weapons are
crowd
gone.
that he will
So they
fight
have
to
no
the
Air
end
Force,
for
they have
bad
no air
people,
defense.
as long as they
All of their
compliment him
airplanes are
first.
gone.
This is not hyperbole. This is
communications
not
are
a
gone.
joke. The crowd laughed,
Missiles
but he
are
kept
gone.
going.
Launches are gone.
He said it
About 60%
clearly
and
on record.
64% respectively.
That is the foreign policy
Other
of the
than
most
that, they're doing
powerful
quite
nation
well.
on earth.
I said, what's
Flattery.
left?
Bombshell
But they're
2.
tough,
Regime
and they wanna
change
fight.
in Iran. One of the most
they're calling,
consequential
they're saying, "How do we make
geopolitical
a deal?" I
events in a
said, "You're being a little
generation
bit late."
happened by Trump's
And,
own admission
we
by
wanna fight
accident.
now more than
Quote,
they do.
We got it by
We've had,
accident. We actually got it by accident.
47 years,
He
depending on
then
the way you
described
count
the sequence. They took out
But
the first
47
regime,
years of
Khamenei, then
horror
targeted
with this
88
group.
people
And,
who were
you know, when
meeting
you
to
see somebody
select a
walking
new
down the
regime
street
while they were in the
without
middle of
their
voting.
legs, without the
Now,
arms, whose
this
faces
narrator is not in a position to
badly
verify the full accuracy
affected and
of those
hurt.
specific operational
It
claims.
mostly
But that's
came
not the
from
point. The point
95%
is that the
Soleimani
President of the United States is
and
narrating
Iran,
what amounts to a
and
campaign of targeted elimination and
presidents
regime
lived with it, I
installation,
didn't live with it,
and
and so
describing it as an
Our people are doing a
accident
great
he
job.
stumbled
Again, the
into.
greatest military anyone's seen.
Bombshell 3.
Thank you.
Trump then pivoted mid-sentence to announcing he was about to give a speech
Thank
that
you very
night.
much. And
His
yesterday,
description
my
of that speech,
administration announced
basically,
decisive
I'm going to
action
tell everybody how
help keep
great I
down
am. Not
the
a
oil
policy
prices,
update,
including
not a
offering
security
political
briefing,
risk
not a
insurance
message
for
to allies,
tankers
a self-congratulations.
transiting into
Delivered the same
Gulf,
night he
as you know,
casually
pretty
floated
dangerous
stealing
territory.
Iran's oil and
Further
described
action to
dismantling
reduce pressure
foreign
on
governments
oil
as a
is
happy
imminent,
coincidence.
And the oil seems to have
And
pretty much
then,
stabilized.
as
We
if
had it
all
very
of
low,
that wasn't enough,
but I had to take
he
this little
circled back
detour.
to
If it's okay with
Venezuela.
everybody, Scott.
At the
It's
top
okay
of the
with you?
speech, Trump claimed
Scott's
the
the one
U.S.
has to
won
put
an
up with it. He
entire
said, "You have to do
war
this
against
now." I said, "I have
Venezuela
to do it, Scott,"
in
right?
45 minutes.
But it's been very
His words,
strong,
the
and
entire
everybody,
war
including
was won
Scott,
in
everybody
45
feels
minutes.
We had
We
really
set a
no
record.
choice. It was gonna,
He
they were
compared it
gonna
to
hit
a
us.
fighter
We
getting
didn't hit
knocked
them
out in
'cause
3
they're crazy.
seconds.
And
Then,
in the
and
long
this is
term, the
important,
actions
he
we're
said the
taking will
U.S. is now in a
dramatically
joint venture with
increase the
Venezuela,
stability of the
the
region
country he
and
just described as
oil
having been
prices
militarily
and stock
obliterated,
markets and everything else.
is
You know,
now
we set the all-time
a
record in
business
history
partner
with the
for
Dow
oil.
going to 50,000.
That's not
So
foreign
Dow was at
policy.
50,000.
That
It was
is a
supposed to be
protection racket
maybe, if we
with
were
a
lucky,
flag on.
within
And Trump made it even clearer
by the
moments
end of my
later when he
presidency in
said
4
about
years.
Iran that he'd
And we did it
prefer
in my
just to
first
take
year.
the
We did
oil,
the
but
S&P
understands the American
500.
people
We did
want a
that
clean
in,
win and
a
to come
period
home.
of less than a year.
He's not hiding
and that was
the
even
ideology.
tougher than the Dow, they
He's
said, so it wasn't
broadcasting
going to
it.
happen.
The United States
But, we
military
have a
as
great
a
country.
tool
We have a
for
country that's
resource
never done this
extraction,
well.
wrapped in
We've
the
had
language
tremendous
of
success
strength,
in so
records,
many
and
different
winning.
ways. I built the
And
military and
then,
rebuilt
as a
it in
capstone
my
to all
first
of it,
term, and we're using
Trump
it
looked at an
more than I'd like
evangelical
to use
crowd
it, to
and
be
told
honest
them,
with you. But
if you didn't
when
have
we
me,
used it, we
you
found out
wouldn't
it
have
certainly did
Israel,
work. When we look
not
at
the Israeli
Venezuela,
military.
when
not
we look at the
decades
first
of U.S.
attack,
foreign
Midnight
policy,
Hammer
not the Abraham
in Iran,
Accords,
which really set
me,
the stage for what
Donald
we're
Trump.
doing right now. It's
Personally,
been pretty amazing.
He said the Middle
And I'm
East
once again
itself would
calling
have
on all
been gone
members of
without
the
him.
Iranian
And the crowd
Revolutionary
applauded.
Guard, the
Here's
military,
the
and the
thread
police
running
to
through
lay down
every single
their
thing
arms.
you
They're only
just
going to be
heard.
killed.
This is a
And
president
now is
who
the
does
time
not
to stand
speak
up for
in
the Iranian
policy.
people and
He
help
speaks in
take back your country.
transactions,
You're going to
oil,
have a chance
flattery,
after all these years
winning,
to take
taking,
back your
joint
country,
ventures,
accept immunity, we'll give
regime
you
removal,
immunity,
saving
and we'll
countries.
be,
Every foreign relationship
giving you
is
really
a
the
deal.
right side of history,
Every
'cause
military
that's what it
action
is.
is a business
So
move.
you'll be
Every allied nation is
perfectly
either an
safe
asset
with
or a
total
freeloader.
immunity, or you'll
And the most
face
dangerous part of this
absolutely
speech
guaranteed
isn't
death.
any
And
single
I don't want
line.
to see that.
It's the
They don't
comfort.
want to see it
The
either.
way he says we could
also
just
urge
take their
Iranian
oil,
diplomats
not as
around
a
the world
threat,
to request
not
asylum
as a
and to help
strategy
us
paper, but
shape a
as a
new
casual aside,
and better
the way you'd
Iran
say we could just
with
order
great
pizza.
potential. It's a country with
The way
great
he says,
potential.
I
It's
love
much
bad people if
better
they're nice
future
to me.
For
and
Iran,
laughs.
it's now beginning. It's
The
going to
way
be,
he
I
describes
think, a great
regime
future.
change as
The
an
United
accident,
States will ensure
and
that
then
whoever leads the country
immediately
next,
pivots
Iran
to
will
how
not
great he is.
threaten America or
That
its
comfort
neighbors,
is the
Israel,
tell.
anybody.
This is
If you
not a
look at
man
what
who
happened,
feels
they
any
had
tension
missiles
between what
aimed
he's
at
saying
all of these
and what
other
a president
countries,
is
Qatar,
supposed
Saudi
to
Arabia,
say. Because in his
many
mind,
others,
there is no
that
gap.
weren't really involved
He
very
is the
much, and they had
presidency.
missiles aimed. Well, they
The
were aimed there long
presidency
before this
is
ever
him.
started. They were going after
And
the
on that
entire Middle
stage,
East.
unscripted,
And then we came
unfiltered,
along.
and completely
We
at ease,
blew up their party.
he told you exactly
So
who he
we
is.
have phenomenal
The question
people. I
is
want to
whether
thank all
enough
of the
people
people
are
that have been
listening.
involved. Marco,
If you
you've been
watch
doing
this
a
far, you
fantastic
already
job.
know this speech
And you've
needs
been doing
a
a
wider
fantastic
audience.
job on a place called
Share
Cuba.
this video. Let people hear it in his own words. And if you want more of this, real clips, real context, no spin, hit subscribe.
And A-Rod
New
came
videos
in
dropping every week.
before. I
We're
said,
just getting
Hey,
started.
do you want to come up to a little